Hey everybody, Al Puglisi Trains. I thought I'd share with you a little working on my railroad, Pugsburg Railroad. Behind me here is a viaduct bridge that I got inspired from the viaduct bridges on Howard Zane's layout. Let me show you. Well, that's me before I had my beard. Quite a few years ago, I was over at Howard Zane's house. He had just built this incredible viaduct on his model railroad, and he has more than one of these. He has many of these, and you can see these on my channel. This is at Maisie's Falls. And I so fell in love with this viaduct that I had to have it. As a matter of fact, I've got 3 bridges, viaducts, on the Pugsburg Railroad, and I wanted to have something similar, as similar as I possibly could get to what Howard had done here. So let me show you what I came up with. Well, this is a work in progress on the Pugsburg Railroad, and you've probably seen this before on the channel. This is a beginning of a viaduct similar to what Howard has, and I took a piece of gator foam that was about an 1/8 inch thick, and I super braced the back of it with basswood, and I took it over to Howard's house, and Howard and I scored it and put cracks in it, and Howard weathered one side and I weathered the other with some pastels and some flat paints and a little bit of alcohol and India ink, but mostly with basically flat white and some black pastel with a little bit of brown pastel for the streaking, and simulated the cracks. And like I said, Howard did one side of it and I did the other, and I was very happy with the way this came out. This bridge is pretty big. This bridge is about, I'd say, almost 5 feet, probably 4.5 feet across, and it's on the main line on the Pugsburg Railroad. And you can see that I have not installed the inner arches yet, the inner trim yet, and I'll show you how I'm doing that. And basically what I've done was, this bridge was built in place. It was not built on a bench. Now, you can build your bridge on a bench if you want, but my bench work, the layout, basically was already there. And the bench work essentially ran right across and was open at the bottom. And I just sandwiched these 2 gator foam pieces of the bridge to my existing bench work. There's a highway on one side. There's going to be a walkway, a sidewalk on the other. Of course, there'll be barriers and one track of the main. And I decided to build this viaduct bridge in place. And this one on the other side of the layout that I'm working on is pretty much the same type thing. Gator foam. The bench work was open. I opened up the bench work, so I had bench work above already existing for the main line. And this is a 2-track main. And I cut the sandwich pieces out of gator foam, and this viaduct here is about 3 feet across and about 15 inches tall. And I'm in the process of installing the inner arches, as you can see here, and that's out of 20,000th styrene that Howard recommended. It's very, very thin, and I'll show you why that's important in a minute. And I'm building this in place as well. Like I said, you can build this on your bench work and install it, but since I already had the existing bench work, I essentially just cut an opening and made the sandwich pieces, this outer piece front and an identical piece in the back, sandwiched it, lined everything up so that I can sleeve the inner arches. And when I'm done, it'll be a pretty nice looking viaduct bridge. Now, I've got some inner scenery on the one side, but it's only going to have to butt up to the edge of the scenery, and I can use shrubs and rocks and additional scenery items to hide that seam. And on the other edge, the inner arch will go into these wood braces. Those are basswood braces. You don't need a brace in the center because the pressure when you curve it keeps it tight up against. And I'll show you what I do. I'll show you what I'm working on and how I'm doing it. Well, I took a 20,000th piece of styrene sheet and painted it flat white. And I measured the distance here. The depth of this is about 36 scale feet. You can cut it a little bit larger. That's a good idea to do because you can take a sharp knife and trim it. And then after I cut it to the desired width that you see here to fit the viaduct, I matched the scoring of the viaduct. You can see how the rock is scored, how the concrete is scored. I matched it so it would match the inner scoring of the inner arches. And then I put the stress cracks in, like you see, and I matched the weathering to this as best as I possibly could using the same pastel and India ink wash that I used on the existing piece to match it as closely as possible. And then I use Walther's goo. I goo the edges and I slide it in and press it up, and I get it as close as possible, and when it dries I'll take a really sharp knife and trim it. And little spots like this that you see here that might pop open, you can hit them with some isocyanate glue just to close them if you have to, and then you can trim it when you're done. And you can see this piece here is cut so that when I go to tuck it in, it butts up against the scenery, and I can put shrubs in or do whatever I need to do when I glue it in to hide that seam into the back. Now folks, I'm not doing an advertisement for Walther's goo, but Howard and I love Walther's goo. And Walther's goo is kind of like a contact cement. You can pull it apart and let it dry for a little while, and then when you go to rebond it, it's super duper sticky. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'll take this tube of goo and I'll just put a string of goo carefully along the edge, all the way down, all the way across the seam. Don't want to use too much, just want to put a nice even bead around, and put some additional Walther's goo inside your braces and let it sit for about a minute or two, and it becomes really, really tacky. And when you push the piece up against the Walther's goo and separate it for maybe 30 or 40 seconds, it chemically changes and makes it even more tacky, grabs it and holds it. Now, there are other glues you can use. Some people might want to use a hot glue gun. Some people might want to use a different kind of glue. I'm just telling you what I use to do the job. Well, folks, here's this one that's finished, and you can see the arches have been put in and trimmed, and it dramatically improved the appearance of this bridge. Dramatically. Well, folks, this viaduct's done too. You can see it's been sleeved, just like I explained, and it makes an enormous, huge difference in the presentation. And again, I can't believe I've been putting up with this thing without the arches put in it for the past 6 or 7 years. And my God, what a difference it made. Now, I've got a special section on my channel. Go to my playlist on my home page. Click on How to Do It videos. And this video is going to be one of many I'll put in the How to Do It videos. Many of them are by me, some are by Howard Zane, some are by Doug Foscale, Foscale Models. Some of the absolute best How to Do It videos out there. And you can learn so much in that section, and it's there to help you in your railroad journey. Folks, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this, please hit the subscribe button. We need subscribers to push the channel out. Thanks so much, and don't forget to check out my playlist.